morning, yogis. I hope this video finds you well. I've been thinking a lot about nature this morning, and when I say nature, I mean like the archetypes of humans. And we've been studying these texts, and particularly in the Dhammapada, you talk about the wise and the unwise, the learned and the unlearned. But I had a situation yesterday that I've just been kind of meditating on. They say that a leopard can't change their spots. And I worked with this yogi in Denver one time. It was never supposed to be there. It was a complete accident. Ended up doing this like intense 3-day thing with this guy. And at the end of it, I ended up spending some time with him, and it was like the really profound experience for me. I got kind of cornered by him, and he explained something to me that absolutely changed my life. And, essentially he said, what's your nature? Who are you? What are you about? Right? And I told him I'm a warrior. I was in the military. I'm a martial artist. Like everywhere I go, like I'm just a warrior, and people are scared of that, right? Like it can make people uncomfortable because they know that they're relying on your sound mind or benevolence, right? That you're not going to do anything. And there's a lot of trust in those kinds of relationships, right? And part of being a warrior is to be restrained, right? Like you have all this training or talents or whatever, you have skills. And part of being a warrior is to know when you apply those skills, when it's appropriate and when it's not appropriate. And sometimes people without training, without that nature, without that background, they don't know, right? Yelling at somebody is like maybe the best thing you could possibly do because it's going to de-escalate something, but only because you've been a warrior your whole life. Like, hey, I had to get a little aggressive at this point to solve something else, right? Or and it looks muddy and it looks weird, but the truth of the matter is that if you're a calm, restrained person, you can get through these situations and whatever. But doing a study on the Bhagavad Gita where this warrior sees this army approaching and he has no choice. You have to go fight them. And there are times in life where if you are a warrior, you have a duty, right, to do certain things. And so a case in my life that I think about regularly is here in Albuquerque. A couple times a year, I pull up on some type of accident. Maybe a pedestrian gets hit by a car, maybe the car wrecks, whatever. I right now I'm thinking of like 6 stories probably where I was walking by and somebody was injured and I had to stop and render aid. And what was amazing about it was all of them was that everybody was filming. Maybe people are calling the police. Nobody's trying to help. Nobody's going in there and trying to make sure these people are going to be okay. And I grew up in a hospital. My mom was a traveling nurse. Like I've been around that stuff. My dad was a cop. Like I've been around really intense stuff my whole life, right? So that's what I know. Like I can see things that most people probably would, bother them forever, and I could just shake it off. Like I've seen this stuff so much that I'm just kind of comfortable with the nature of it, right? Well, warrior is one archetype, right? You have a priest archetype. They want to be a holy leader, right? They want to be a spiritual director, right? And so their behavior is going to be different than a warrior, as it should be. You have a home builder, right? The home builder is going to be different than what the warrior or the priest want. The priest is going to be probably talking about celibacy and giving all your money to God. The home builder is talking about family and serving God in their own way, but they have totally different agendas. And again, with the warrior, and then you have the builder, you have the home builder, right? You have somebody that they have to create stuff or they're not going to be happy. And so they've constantly got to make things better and prettier. And you have the seer, like their job is vision. Their job is to see things as they are and to be able to work with things. And so they have vision 10 years down the road. They're just able to know where we're headed and they can kind of lead people. You have the rebel, their job is to break through illusion, right? They're they don't care. They have iron will. Like they are going to break through. And then you have the monk, right? And the monk is like, they're going to get away from the world. They want austerity. They don't want friends. They don't want family. They don't want to waste their time here on this earth on anything other than going towards spiritual realization. And when you look at these archetypes of people, like all of them have vastly different motivations, right? And none of them understand each other at all. Like how they're going to work and how they're going to get along, and everybody's trying to like assert their will and their dominance, and then you get all these different kinds of influence games, right? And how can people kind of control, manipulate, and try to acquire power? And anyway, I was just thinking about this morning because I had this deep conversation with someone, a good friend, last night, and essentially it was kind of like, the warrior's bad, and it's just like, it just is, right? Like, I've had this conversation in so many yoga studios, and the Gita tells you, right? Like, you need warriors, and they're here, and they're not bad, but they need to be restrained and controlled and mature and spiritually sound, right? Because if they're not, then the probability for things to go off the rails is just huge. And anyway, I hope you see this as valuable. That this yogi that I was in Colorado with, this world famous and used to be a supermodel, a male supermodel. So how many of those do you know, right? And so he traveled all over the world doing the supermodel thing, and then he decided to stop and became a yogi. And what he told me is, you can't fight your nature. You can't. If you're a warrior, you have a duty to be the best warrior you could possibly be. If you're a home builder, then you need to be the best home builder you can be, right? If you're a thief and a criminal, God help you. You go need to be the best at that. And that's a weird thing to hear. But some people's nature determines that they just don't think the way we do, right? Their nature is to steal and connive and, whatever. And so, like, if you want to rehabilitate that, go ahead. I don't know. Like, I don't want to be around that in my life. So I separate myself from that, because we're just on two different, the hedonists of life, right? People that are just constantly seeking pleasure and all they want to do is just feel good. I have no need for these people in my life, right? Like, there's no value here. Like, the monk and the capitalist probably don't have a whole lot in common, right? So, their interaction should probably be pretty brief, because whatever, they're not going to see the world the same way, right? It's just the way they're positioned, and we're all God's children, right? But it's quite natural for people to try to tell people, oh, well, it's never appropriate to do whatever, right? But until you've like been starving and hungry and like scared and whatever, like, you can't really say that it's inappropriate for somebody to do whatever. You know what I mean? It's like you weren't there. So anyway, I don't know if there's any value or if I'm just rambling, but I got to go do a bunch of construction work today. And anyway, wish me luck. I hope you guys are doing well. Namaste.